As a facilitator, it's really easy to put pressure on yourself and think that you're completely responsible for what happens in the room. And I'm here to remind you that you're not. You're only partly responsible for what happens in that workshop, and your participants, they need to meet you halfway. So at the beginning of every workshop, I start with some connection activities. We set intentions about the workshop itself. And I always share with participants that I'm only partly responsible for the success of the day. And if they want this workshop to be useful and not just interesting, then they need to meet me halfway by taking a bet on themselves. B.E.T. So the B stands for being open minded. I explain that over the course of the day, I might say things, others might say things that kind of rub up a little bit, perhaps not what they believe or they expect. And I encourage participants to lean in with an open mind and be curious. To lean in, be open minded, consider things, mull things over before reacting. The second thing I ask them to do in the B.E.T framework is the E, and that is to engage in the process. I explain that sometimes I might flesh out what we're going to do and give them the reasons behind it. And other times we might do things where I don't explain it well. And that's because the learning is going to happen in that unfolding. I don't ask them to blindly trust me, but I do ask them or invite them to engage in the process, even if it feels clunky and uncomfortable to begin with, just to see what happens. And then the last thing I ask for is the T, the take action. I make it really clear that what happens in the workshop is only part of the process. And actually, if they want the session to be useful and not just interesting, they need to be prepared to take action after the session is finished. I let them know in advance that at the end of the session, I'm going to ask for one thing they're committed to doing or doing differently as a result of what we've worked through. Now, by putting that up front, by sharing ownership of the success of the session, people are far more likely to lean in and engage because they realize that they are co-creators and it's actually up to them, or at least partly up to them, to make sure the session is a success.